think it looks alright. I'll have to write it up.
It's a really good setup to have that, like this already here.
It does look good, doesn't it? Emma drew that.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
But I was so forgetting the name of... I was like, yeah, it's like a different one. And someone's like, do you mean abstract? I was like, oh my God, that was killing me.
That's
for like
embarrassing.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Steph Lowe, welcome to the Broccoli Roast.
It's very good to be here.
You're up in Sydney.
In Sydney, we've made the little trek to your studio.
What are you doing up here?
Well, we've got an event this Saturday, so tomorrow, a real food and the gut brain access event.
Nice.
Which will be fun, but mainly just to hang out with you.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
I feel so special.
No, we love Bondi. Ellie and I tend to have weekends in Bondi to eat all the good food and get some beach time as well.
It's so funny you can tell that you're from Melbourne because you say Ali as if like...
Her name starts with an A.
Yeah. It's actually Ellie.
Well, she's here, but you guys can't see her.
Where do you guys go to eat in Bondi?
Oh, gosh, you know what? There's quite a few. Right now, on the tip of my tongue, I can't even think what our faves
There's so
are.
many.
Yeah. Harry's? Yeah, we love Harry's, definitely. The Shop is another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tend to find the best like breakfast bowls and veggie-based goodness
of
the low-carb variety.
It's funny because Bondi is such a little hub of health activity.
Yeah.
But I've been speaking with a lot of people about this. I've got friends in Bondi, and we were talking about the transient nature of the health hub there, and how it's kind of funny to see people who are previously not in health, and then we can speak quite openly about this. I see a lot of influencers.
Oh yeah,
entrepreneur influencers.
That's a new word. Yeah.
It's a Bondi thing, and they're all sort of getting into the health space now, and I think, and you and I were chatting about this, that it's leading to this. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good thing.
Saturation.
It's saturation. There's confusion. That's the biggest thing. And when people are confused about health in any way, they don't act. It leads to inaction.
Yeah, totally. We call it the paralysis analysis or analysis of paralysis. Whichever way you look at it. And it happens to our clients even. You'll get a client and you'll take them through a protocol, and then they'll get on Dr. Google and they'll learn something different or even opposite to what you've told them. And so we have this dad joke that we get our clients to go on a low information diet where they think about who they're getting information from and keeping it pretty narrow.
Yeah.
I'm all for educating yourself, but you don't want to take it so far that you end up getting confused.
Isn't it something you don't know? You don't know if something works. Then if you're trying 50 different things.
For sure.
And I see these people come up to me at events, and I mean maybe some of them are listening, and if you are, I hope you probably don't think it's you. But some people come up to me at events and they're like, yo. And they've got crazy eyes going, and they're like...
We all know those people.
I do this, and I do this, and I do this. No questions, just please validate me.
Yeah, life story kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, but they're doing 25 different health hacks, and you can see they're still lost. There's no direction.
Yeah.
It's
a worry. It's definitely a worry. And perhaps a lot of it is to do with the fact that it's very vogue to be an influencer and...
Entrepreneur influencer.
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't even try to say that word. And I think it's important to think about where you're getting your information from. Yeah.
What's your direction at the moment? Where are you getting your info from?
Where am I getting my info from? That's a good question.
Do you rely on the podcast a lot?
I do like listening to podcasts, but sometimes I feel like I have a bit of saturation of that because I do this, all day, every day.
And what about your podcast?
Oh, my
your
podcast.
Discussions with people.
Yes, absolutely. I get a lot of inspiration from my guests. Recently interviewed Dr. Ron Elrich, who's a holistic dentist, but has a really holistic view to health and wellness in general. And that for me was a little bit different to what I'm used to learning about, but still very much coming back to, the messages that we speak about. That was fun. I love listening to podcasts as well. But I also like the balance because I think you can overdo it, and I don't tend to listen to health podcasts all the time in my spare time anymore. I used to.
Yeah.
Now I'm into true crime.
Yeah. Right. Okay. What are you listening to on that?
Oh, I finished The Teacher's Pet.
Okay.
So
that's around here, this area.
Yes.
Just over
northern, northern NSW border, which is, living in Melbourne, not super close, but still very, Australian, and you can just connect with it because it's so close to home.
Was that the guy who buried someone?
Apparently. We don't know, but yes, a husband and a wife.
So it was like literally down the road.
Yeah.
Gnarly. Coming from Adelaide, which is like the murder capital of Australia, apparently. And then coming deep into Sydney, right in the heart of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. But 20 million downloads or more than by now. Wow. That show has had, that podcast has had worldwide. So it's obviously caught on for a reason. They've done a great job, but it has sparked my interest, and I've been listening to just a few other ones online as well.
I'm an audiobook guy now, so I've sort of given up the podcast thing for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I was huge Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
Any sort of, I'd always look at episode titles and be like, oh, does that interest me? Does that interest me? And then he just went down sort of a different route, and I sort of became less interested. And then there was like, 100 Not Out with Damien and like all these different things. But I just got over it. So I started listening to Audible. I signed up to the membership where you get 2 credits a month. Yeah. But I can't keep up.
Yeah, I've got about 5 credits in there at the moment. I'm worried it's going to expire.
But no, there's been some great books I listened to 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson.
That's in my list, wish list, I think.
Yeah, everyone's been talking about that.
Yeah, cool.
Good book. Yeah, really good. Wherever my phone is, I'll grab it in a sec because I had some quotes. Actually, that's for the next interview. But I'm listening to, what else did I listen to? Oh, I just listened to the Wilbur Smith. You know how I always talk about Wilbur Smith? Yeah. I listened to his biography. Wow. And it was like pretty much as good or better than the actual books that he writes. Cool. Because like so much of it was based off his life. There's like stories of him climbing trees to get these young ospreys or falcons or something like that. And he went up with a helmet on because he was worried he was going to fall. And then he got in the nest, he was wondering why it was so quiet, and there was a death adder in there. And this death adder like leapt at him and he fell, and then they saw on his helmet afterwards these 2 puncture holes and all the venom dripping down the front of the helmet. Like there's just one story, and then his stories about his dad like killing 5 lions as they came in to eat everybody in the camp. Like legit crazy stories. But how good is Audible? How good is like technology in that way?
I listened to Brain Rules more recently.
Oh, cool. What's that?
Which is really like how to care for your brain from a longevity standpoint, and lots of fairly basic avenues. Like it does go through, like stress management. It goes through sleep and like sort of sections as to what's really important. But I love the whole, I just love learning about the brain and that whole kind of biohacking so you can age well.
Well, you're probably doing a little bit of biohacking at the moment, becoming, I guess, very cognizant of what your body's doing, because you won't be able to see, no one will be able to see, but they won't be able to hear either, but you're actually cooking a baby now. I am.
I'm just about 6 months, which is, once you're pregnant, you're talking weeks, right? Whenever I say 23 or 24 weeks, people are like, they get this look like, So now 6 months on Monday. So it's been a good, fun ride.
How amazing is it?
It's incredible. Beyond. You can't even really explain it in words. But, I mean, firstly, I don't like to use the word lucky, but it's been a really awesome pregnancy. I didn't have any morning sickness. I haven't had to really change anything at all other than not eating, raw fish. And I've loved it so far. Yeah. But, you look at your body differently, and, yes, I've always eaten well, but you've got that extra kind of reason, thinking about omegas for the brain and what you're going to feed the bub, and also obviously on the other side as well, because there's lots of different conventions in the West that I don't personally agree with, but haven't had that first-hand experience with, like the whole rice cereal thing that's huge in Australia.
What's that?
Sort of in the guidelines, that's the first food they get.
Oh, babies.
Yeah. Which doesn't make sense.
After breast milk?
Yeah, for solid food. Yeah. And I'm just thinking about this beautiful, mashed avocado with banana and this beautiful homemade nutrient dense, maybe an egg yolk in there. Yeah. Thinking about all the balance that you need from a nutrient, macronutrient point of view. And then you look at the rice cereal in a cardboard box and you think, we have been brainwashed. I mean, we know this, but it's pretty offensive.
I can't wait to chat to you about, because people who have been listening to this know I'm doing the kids doco, the little children's health mini thing, and we're going to interview you after this. Yes. I'm really keen to chat to you about that, because this is the key moment, is what you're going through right now, is this pre-birth and then post-birth nutrition period, which has such a huge implication on the baby's life, the entire life.
And there's a lot of research around, we obviously do low carb at the Natural Nutritionist. I'm certainly eating more carbohydrates than before I was pregnant, but it would still be very much classed as that by definition of like comparison to the food pyramid.
Where are you getting your carbs from? Like what's
fruit and some sweet potato and maybe a little bit more buckwheat than usual or something like that.
Buckwheat's lots of resistant starch though. It's good.
Exactly. But minimal refined carbohydrates, but just probably, you know, maybe more like 100 grams a day or 150 some days without counting. I'm not counting, but you know, I still think about, it's really tempting to either eat for two, which I definitely fell into a trap for about a week of early days.
A week's pretty good.
Had to rein it in. But also you can eat whatever you want. Like I think lots of women, with all due respect, can be like a little bit weight focused about their food choices, but because they know they're gaining weight, they can kind of deal with it later on. I think that tends to lead to just making choices that aren't going to be the best for them and the baby. Because do you want a baby that like craves carbohydrates or has an addiction to sugar? Hell no.
Well, they all come out. I guess like how much of it is intuition versus what you know logically, or what you know
personally
scientifically, or because you're a practitioner, you're coming into this with quite a unique set of skills and opinions, I guess. But then I'm sure you get cravings which contradict your, like, do you look at chocolate and go, holy shit, I want some chocolate, but then you know logically.
So I don't eat refined sugar. Like if I get chocolate, I'll go and get some good quality,
like
Loving Earth or Puppy Jackson, and I've probably had some nearly every day, which I wouldn't tell my clients to do, I wouldn't normally do, but I figure that's a fairly good choice versus giving into like the salt and vinegar potato chips that my brain occasionally mentions that would be a good idea that I don't give into, you know. So I haven't had any weird cravings though. There's been no like midnight calls for Ian to get me ice cream and pickles or anything like that at all. I actually crave salmon a lot, which is a very dorky thing for a nutritionist to say. But I tend to find that like I love when I get those cravings because you know omega-3s, brain development, and I just go for it.
So do you get salmon's, like, do you get the farm salmon? Salmon's pretty toxic, eh?
Yeah, I don't eat farm salmon. No.
Where do you get it? How do you get it?
Well, I mean, sometimes it might just come from a wild caught can. I know it's not ideal.
Well,
but
I mean,
I feel like I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place sometimes. And then you can get some wild caught salmon that's frozen. That's at like Terra Madre and some of the health food stores around. So again, the lesser of two evils, I think. But tricky.
It is, hey. Like someone told me, I think I sort of looked into salmon maybe a couple of years ago. And we were talking about, and I didn't really know, like we'd grown up having that salmon all the time.
Yeah, same.
And just thinking like, oily fish. Brain, omega-3s. But when you look at the fact how much antibiotics are used, the oceanic destruction which is associated with growing salmon in such high numbers in small areas.
The grains they're fed.
The grains they're fed, and the on land implications of growing so much grain and then feeding it to fish. Like, it's a whole interesting thing. Fish aren't meant to be farmed.
No,
and it's
tragic,
a very difficult area to look at. But also, if we all started eating wild caught fish, the fish populations would just be gone.
I do feel like, and I used to be like you, I would eat like salmon fillets like a couple of times a week, and then I just literally have not cooked a salmon fillet for I can't tell you how long unless I know where I'm getting it from.
You want to get salmon trout, the Australian salmon trout. It's not pink, it's just like oily white fish. A lot of people hate it. Like a lot of fishermen just throw them back or whatever.
I didn't know that.
It's so good.
Yum.
So nice. And you get it so cheap because nobody wants to eat it. It's like buying bones. Organic bones used to be cheap before bone broth became popular.
They used to be $2 and now they're about $12 a bag.
What is
Seriously,
that?
before
so
bone broth
weird.
became vogue. Yeah, it's supply demand, isn't it?
Gosh, it's so funny. So what else is going on?
Well, my book is out.
How's that going?
Yeah, really
What's
good.
it called again?
Yeah, low carb, healthy fat nutrition.
Okay.
So that's been my big project of, this year not so much because it was off to printing for so long and things go quiet while you wait for that, you would know what it's like.
Waiting, great.
Yeah. But just really excited to have it out there now. It's been a project I've worked on, definitely more acutely, but I feel like it's the sum total of all the work that I've done since starting TNN in 2011, and I'm just really excited that it's out there and we can start to, I guess, like reach the wider demographic. Often we preach to the choir, but it's about reaching the the wider audience that are still thinking that the food pyramid is a good idea, or still trying to eat low fat, or still afraid of saturated fats, or still eating every 2 hours to speed up their metabolism. Like all these myths that I love talking about to like my audience, but books can be great gifts to give to people that wouldn't otherwise be, I guess, even open to that information until it's right in front of them.
Do people still believe in the food pyramid stuff?
It's hard, again, preaching to the choir. Like clients come to us at TNN because they know that we don't follow the food pyramid. They know that we're real food orientated. So rarely am I busting these myths with my clients because they've got a fairly good idea. If not, they've already made the change. They're just wanting to fine tune.
Or at least they're open to it.
Yeah. But I've got a client of mine whose mum is very unwell and she's in the hospital, and we all know what hospital food is like, but he's also dealing with a dietitian who's giving lots of, conventional advice, and he's worked with me for a long time and been low carb since before it was popular. And so he's finding it quite confronting to have those conversations. And so it's still definitely there. It's just probably not so much in our world anymore because there has been this real food revolution, which has been so phenomenal.
Well, phenomenal in a lot of ways, and then tricky, like we were saying before, in others, with everybody getting involved.
Everybody getting involved, everybody just doing keto and not having any awareness.
Carnivores, I've got a friend who's a carnivore.
Like as in purely?
Gone full carnivore. I don't know if she's still doing it, but she's definitely doing
no
keto.
Vegetables?
So like literally was doing like beef and salt and water for a few days.
Okay.
It's pretty gnarly, yeah.
Yeah, full on.
I find that people now are existing within the extremes.
Yeah, totally.
So on the spectrum that we've got, a really intense veganism, we've got carnivorism, if that's a word. But I think health exists within the moderate.
Yeah. I always say health is in the grey.
Yeah.
So humans are black and white, and this is what happens now. So for like 6 years, I was trying to convince people that fats, like the right kind of fats, obviously, weren't
like canola oil.
No, like omega-3s and saturated fats from our, grass-fed butters and coconut oils.
Yeah.
So that's what I spent my time convincing people to include. And now I'm over here convincing people that some carbohydrates are okay.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can have some starch and some
got
buckwheat
worried,
or some fruit. It's, we're looking for these extremes, for these answers, and health is in the grey. Totally. I honestly believe that.
Yeah. We look at cultures who live a long time, they're not worried about the amount of carbs they're having.
They don't count calories.
No, they don't count.
Macros.
It's like, they count how many wines they have. They don't even do that.
And the whole, we've had this conversation before, I think, on one of my apps from the Real Food Reel about that sort of balanced approach, which is where you can make it really sustainable, but you develop a really healthy relationship with food. And that took me probably a decade to learn firsthand, but it was life-changing, and I love to try and teach that to my clients for those that are willing to listen.
Some people you just see, you just got to go, you know what, you're on your journey. You've got to go and explore and come back to me when you're ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. Had the exact conversation last night with one of my clients who was like, all right, I just feel like keto's not for me.
Just watch the tapping with the microphone. Jay's pretty good at that as well. People know.
I just, keto's not for me. I'm not feeling great. I'm like, okay, so why do you think you need to be keto? Like, we've been talking about this sort of lower carbohydrate, healthy fat model. And my client was like, I know you didn't tell me to go keto, but I just really wanted to try it. And again, looking to be restrictive and not eating so many foods. And unfortunately, learning the hard way, she's realized that she thrives better with a little bit of fruit and some starch, and not necessarily counting, but focusing on whole food. And I was like, perfect lesson to learn. Let's get you back over here and get you feeling well again and fixing your gut and all those things that, are obviously way more important than the number of grams of carbs that you eat.
What do you say how do you approach carbs? Because there is, like you said, a lot of people approaching health and wellness now looking at carbohydrates as evil. When I see some of the healthiest foods are carbohydrates, I'm looking right now at my herbs out in the garden, like the parsley and the chives and stuff, they're pretty much all carbohydrates.
People don't know that though. I think a lot of people still struggle to understand that vegetables are carbohydrates. because we live in a world where the majority of our food pyramid and dietary guidelines are refined carbs. So whenever I start talking about carbohydrates, I start talking about the two distinct groups.
Differentiating.
Yeah, so we've got refined carbohydrates and breads and cereals and muesli bars and packets and boxes and mascots we usually see. And then we've got our whole food carbohydrates, which of course are plants. And there are more dense carbohydrate options like the starchy vegetables or the buckwheats or the quinoas, but you know, like they're very different in terms of nutrient profile, the physiological response that they elicit, and we've got to keep that perspective. It's also, you know, so individual. You know, we all have our own degree of carbohydrate intolerance, which would, you know, look like insulin resistance in a type 2 diabetic. But, you know, not many people that I deal with or that you would speak to are over here. You know, the majority have more or a better ability to tolerate carbohydrates, so they don't need to be down at the bottom end of keto,
especially if they're exercising well.
Absolutely. If they're exercising a lot, high intensity, if they're already quite lean, usually a young male can get away with more carbohydrates, but you know, that's a general rule. Yeah, it's a sliding scale. So I always talk about that sliding scale from 25 grams a day of carbohydrates for keto, like strict keto, where it's very therapeutic, and I love it for that purpose. But then up here at like the 150 grams of carbs a day for like you and I right now, maybe.
Well, I went surfing this morning, and so I've been doing a lot of fasting. I'm going to share with you a couple of things. I've been doing a lot of fasting at the moment. I'm doing this thing called modified fasting. I don't know if it's an actual thing, but I just came up with the name recently, where I'm having broth first thing. So I'm doing some like good quality broth. I just got the condensed one. And so I put that in hot water and I have that, and it's really balancing me in a big way that pushes out my breakfast until after a surf without coming back and being quite ravenous and potentially overeating. So anyway, I've been doing that, and this morning I came home, and it's the first breakfast that I've ever had that's been like quite carby in nature for quite a while. I had this mango. I bought this organic mango yesterday, and I was like, it's so funny. Like, I haven't had a mango in so long.
Never right.
And I was frothing. Like this morning I was like, can't wait to come back from my surf and have this mango. But like, I feel amazing. Yeah. Because it's having it strategically. It's having those carbs strategically, like after the surf when you're most sensitive, for instance.
Yeah. Completely agree, which is the model that we teach our clients and why we shouldn't have to avoid certain foods, especially in their whole food form. And someone was talking to me about mangoes this week. It's like, when someone says to you how good a mango is, like, you've just got to go and have one. Like, it's almost like it's just the Australian thing to do. Like, I can see one in your fruit bowl. And I'm like, I haven't had a mango. When I grew up in Townsville...
Do you want this mango?
No, I'm fine, thank you. But we used to have mango trees. So we had, like, you know, a fairly big yard compared to, like, Melbourne properties. It might have been, like, I don't know, a quarter of an acre. And we had lots of mango trees. Like, so many mangoes. Dangerous. They used to rot underneath the stairs because we couldn't keep up with them. No. My dad ended up getting people to come and collect them, and we'd sell them. And then you come to Melbourne and they're like, I remember when they were like $6 each. And for me, always having them in the backyard, that was like really foreign. Yeah. So I don't actually have it as a default to buy, but I'd love one this summer.
Oh God, they're so good.
Mango ice cream, like a coconut-based mango
amazing.
Ice cream.
Yeah, like it.
Like
so
a healthy
good.
Wheeze.
Yeah, I grew one. So I have a mango tree, not here obviously, but back in Adelaide. And beautiful. I remember the first time there's been one mango in like 4 years. So funny.
That would have been a massive win though.
Oh my gosh, seriously the best mango I've ever had. Yeah, because you're so connected to it. Aww. You like nurture this little thing from like little sprout. Yeah, like a baby. Are you exercising much? How do you exercise when you're pregnant?
Well, there's lots of different theories, let me tell you. Yeah. So before I was pregnant, I had kind of really just landed on a bit of a routine with a couple of strength training sessions, lots of yoga and lots of walking. Yeah. So I'd already stopped triathlon just for other reasons like life and businesses and things like that. Cortisol and levels. I've been, absolutely, big adrenal health. I've been doing the exact same thing. So luckily, nothing has changed. In the yoga world, there's definitely a few schools of thought. There are definitely people that say don't do yoga in T1 in the first trimester, which I personally didn't resonate with because why would you tell someone not to move? I think that's very fear-based.
Like hot yoga? Is that like a stress or is
No, it was more yoga in general.
Oh, really?
It sounds horrific, but they talk to you like there's a chance of
You're going to twist the baby out.
Or no, like of it dislodging.
Oh, wow.
And I just don't believe that's ever going to happen from an evolutionary standpoint, personally. But I think it's also very important to be intuitive and to understand that every pregnant female is different. Like, this is my first pregnancy. I was super fit before I started. Like, I developed a lot of strength over the last couple of years, which is why I think I don't look that pregnant. Like, not to blow my own trumpet, my sonographer said to me, I think it's because you've got strong abdominal muscles. And I feel grateful for that, because imagine being, you know, not even halfway and having a sore back or a sore pelvis. And for me, that's a really great lesson to experience, that I have found it so great. Yeah. And a lot of it does come to the prep, or come down to the prep that I put in. So that's... Good, hey? And so I'm still arm balancing, I'm still doing all the fun stuff in yoga. Yeah. I'm kind of waiting, like I'm at the point where I'm 6 months, I'm sure it's going to change, but I don't feel that way at the moment. So I'm just being really intuitive and going with it. De-stressing? You're not that stressed. You live a pretty... Not these days. Cultivated... Yeah. I feel like you're very clean cut. I definitely have a long history of being stressed and working too hard when I first started TNN. But I've got a great team now. It's contagious. I've got a great team now, and I've also Ellie and Elise and Erin. I'm very lucky, but I've also, you know, I was very strategic with when Ian and I decided we were going to have a baby. Like, most people were laughing at me at how planned I was. I'm not surprised at all to hear that. No, I'm not surprised. Look, it's just who I am. But you, darling, I'm ovulating. No, it wasn't like that. It was more like what month? You know, because we got married in December, and everyone, when you're 35, everyone's like on the clock for you. And I'm like, just relax, I've got a few things to do first. Anyway, long story short, I feel like I got to the point when I could actually take a step back in my business first. I understand that some people still work full time, but I just don't feel like I wanted to do that while I was pregnant. I technically work 2 very big days, and then I do like bits and pieces, and you always work when you're an entrepreneur, obviously. Totally, every day. Yeah. But I've just stopped doing the all day, every day, like literally. I've been a bit more strategic with my hours, and I'm really loving it. I'm loving that I got to the point before I had a baby, so I can be okay with it, because in my early 30s, I would have been freaking out about maternity leave. I would have been freaking out about my business and what was going to happen. And now I can't wait for it. I can't wait for not the break, because I know I'm going to be busy, but just the change, like a season, right? A season of your life. Totally. So I'm really excited for that. Do you get adjusted regularly? Yes. Does Ian adjust you? Yes. I'm not the best client, as in I should go a lot more frequently. Yeah. I try and go weekly though. Yeah. And I love pretty frequent though. Yeah. Would you go more? I would like to go a couple of times a week. Yeah, okay. Especially now, to set up some good habits, so that again I continue to feel strong when I get a bit bigger over the next 3 months. That's the thing I've heard. Like, I think it might have been James and Laurentine from Food Matters, and they did that big article on like their holistic birth. It was such a beautiful read, and they were talking about how they were having a lot of troubles doing the home. They might have been in a home birth or like a home birth centre or something. Okay. And they were having some issues with like getting the baby out, and then they had a chiro come along and do the adjustment, and it was like straight out. I know. And have you seen anything cuter than a baby being adjusted? Like, so that's what I was sort of leading into. Like, what are you thinking about that? Can't wait. Yeah. I mean, totally very lucky with obviously Ian being one, an amazing chiro, and 2, very good with kids. Yeah. You know, because Ian works with Damo, and they bought that beautiful giraffe bed where the kids lie. Have you seen that? No, it's like a child's adjusting bed, and it's got this gorgeous giraffe on it. Yeah. And that's where they adjust the kids at Vita, which is where Ian works, which I love. Yeah. Yeah, so into it. I mean, I grew up with chiro, so a lot of people think that it's just a default of marrying a chiro, but my mum's been into chiro since the day I can remember. She wasn't a chiro, she just... No, she just went. Yeah, and she's always gone, even to this day, she's about to turn 60, she would go like every month at least. Like, I know she doesn't go weekly, but she just kept it up. So for me, it was always a part of my life growing up. Yeah. And turns out I've married one. But yes, definitely into baby chiro. Cannot wait. Yeah. I've become a bit of a chiro hussy. So I actually, I sort of bounce between different chiros, whoever's available. Okay. So like, when I'm in Perth, it's so funny. Like, I have all these little homes everywhere now. Yeah, totally. So like when I go to Perth, I stay with Dr. Andrea, who does my adjustments and stuff like that. In Melbourne, it's Damo. Of course. In wherever else I go, it's some other chiro who's doing my... Like, I was in Manly the other day and Ravi adjusted me. Like, I just find that it's so weird that people are so... There are so many people who are still frightened of chiro, particularly with chiro and kids. Yeah. It's so bizarre. Yeah, it is. I feel for them because they do such a great thing. They do such a great job. They are so educated and most of the time so passionate, but there is so much fear. It's kind of like being pregnant though. There's so much fear in that space as well. And, you know, we get it as nutritionists because we've been mythbusters for so long as well. So I don't think we get it anywhere near as, you know, challenging as chiros do, but I can relate on that level because people thought I had two heads for like at least 5 years when I was talking about saturated fats and not counting calories like I was saying before. And that part of the world is definitely changing, at least in, you know, in our space. But chiros are still getting it like decades on.
It's so bizarre. And then APRA or whatever it is, just gagged him.
Yeah. I do feel for them. It'd be really challenging. But, you know, they're also very passionate about education, which is where a lot of it needs to be focused so we can change, you know, change someone's opinion, which might have come from their childhood or one bad experience or whatever it is that doesn't, you know, doesn't apply to all chiros.
Yeah. One of the most uneducated comments that I hear from people is chiro has no science behind it.
Yeah,
right. I still hear that.
Really?
It's like, are you kidding me? Yeah. There is a shit ton.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, I feel for them. And, you know, Damo is like so passionate about campaigning for that. So
we're going to have him on in a couple of weeks.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he'll be up here.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, cool. So what else are you going to do up here in Sydney? You got the event tomorrow?
Event tomorrow, yeah, and then we're going to spend the day on Sunday just unwinding, I think.
Oh, good.
Have a nice day off.
Weather good?
No, not so much. Yeah.
Windy and actually it's just
got my jacket on. I'm glad I dressed for Melbourne. Yes, you know, I wasn't expecting that.
Infected.
Yeah.
Where can people keep up with your journey? Are you sort of documenting? Are you blogging like the pregnancy journey or anything?
You know.
Yeah. It's a pretty common thing for people to do.
A lot of people do it, which is fine. I guess I've always kept things quite nutrition focused. Yeah. And I'll probably share if, you know, people want to hear about it, of course. I'm not really into like selfies. I've never been a selfie person, so it's not a default for me to be posting like bump selfies. I've posted like one, and like I'm like, okay. Does anyone want to see my tummy? Probably not. But yeah, I still hang out on Instagram at The Natural Nutritionist, podcast weekly over at The Real Food Reel. Yeah. And the other thing I've been working on is my online program, so my LCHF
I saw that. Yeah. How's that going?
It's going really well. Yeah, we had a great sort of launch, like an inaugural launch. Intake. And they're up to sort of week 4 or 5 now, which is awesome. And I'm looking at...
is it athletes based?
It is athletes. Yeah. I mean, LCHF endurance definitely gives you that endurance focus. Yeah. But which has been surprising and great. We've had a lot of people that want to do pure LCHF and that have joined us. Yeah. And we have levels for the training, right? So you've got level 1, and you might do a level 1 run program, which starts with some run walk and builds up to being able to run like a 10K if that's what you want to do. Yeah, nice. And so they might not look at themselves as endurance athletes because you technically wouldn't call 10Ks endurance, right? Yeah. But it's so great to see them being really inspired about the journey and learning to run. And we do all like low heart rate stuff. It's on the MAF method, so they can really achieve it because it's not high intensity and stressful and, you know, giving them high cortisol levels and making them super tired. So that's been great for me to kind of introduce that side of my world to people that weren't across that side of LCHF. So you're not just like hardcore athletes at all. Yeah. So it's super fun.
Love it. And that's all on the website, Instagram, they can find it.
Yeah, LCHF Endurance and .com.au online.
Sweet. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure. Always love a yarn.
Thanks
for having me in your beautiful studio.
Very nice. Everyone's been commenting about Emma's abstract. That's the word.
Very talented girlfriend.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Gorgeous.
She'll be very happy, but she won't listen or watch the show, so she won't hear.
You can get away with saying anything.
Yeah, right. I know. Awesome. On the last episode, Jay asked me about relationship advice.
Oh.
And I was like, oh boy, what am I going to say that doesn't get me in trouble? I think I got away with it though.
Because you didn't watch it.
Because you didn't watch it.
You can say it's like 8 Ian. Yeah. Even listen to my podcast.
No, well done, Kale. Guys, if you want to stay updated with me and the show, just head along to Instagram at Kale's Broccoli or stay here on YouTube. We will see you on the next episode of The Broccoli Roast. Bye.